Okay, 2026 is not ready for this. If this is how the year is going to start out, first book I read was You'll Never Know. When I tell you this book has me so fucked up, literally I was not prepared, okay? It's a thriller. I was not prepared. So it's, oh my God, I don't even know where to start. Okay, if you don't want me to ruin the book, then you might want to just keep on scrolling. I'll tell you that. But I'm going to ruin the book for you. So there's a con man has a son, teaches his son basically like all women are bad, to hate women. They will literally take everything from you. And he's also an alcoholic, right? So the son grows up and literally hates women. And there's an accident where this woman in the book, that she gets into a car accident, loses her family, right? After 2 years, she thought it was this one person. Plot twist, it was the other guy. It was his fault in the accident, okay? So then, after 2 years, she decides that she wants to have revenge, right? So she plots this whole thing for revenge to get back at him. And I will say I wasn't ready for the plot twist. Like, you'll get to that in the middle of the book. I'm not going to tell you how the end is, though. If you want to know how the ending is, then you can read the book for yourself. But you'll never know. I'll give this one 5 stars because, God, I just wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready for it. Obviously, professional reader here. Now, if you are into like the mob or mafia and also dark romance smut book, this one's a must read. Den of Vipers. So in this book, there's a dad, okay? So there's a dad and he basically owes debt, okay? He owes debt that he can't pay. So he literally gives his daughter up as payment. So he gives his daughter up to these guys in the mafia. He's like, oh, too bad, so sad, daughter, here you go, you know? And when I tell you that she's a badass, she's a badass. So she has to live with these guys. And like, I mean, okay, this book is like, it's not scary, but it's like so fucked up and twisted that at one point she tries to escape and I just start laughing because they put like these cylinders up. I mean, of course they're like billionaires, you know, and they put like these huge cylinders up and she just drives the car into those and can't go anywhere. But she's feisty as hell. And so then in the book, she's living with them and there's this one character in there. His name is Diesel. Diesel is my favorite out of all of them. Diesel, like, does not give a fuck. Diesel is the one who's gonna torture anybody. Diesel is, like, he has his own, like, chamber in the basement. And, like, she clearly likes that shit, too. So, it's, like, this twisted thing. Well, towards the end of the book, so I don't ruin too much for you on this one because this one is like one of my favorites. But if you want me to ruin it and you want me to tell you more about it in videos, then comment below and let me know and I'll totally ruin it all. But towards the end of the book, they're basically in this huge like WAR, okay? And freaking Diesel comes out with this fucking fanny pack. It's my favorite part almost in the whole book. But he comes out with this fanny pack that has a goddamn unicorn on it. It's freaking holding damn grenades in the bitch. But if you're if you're into mafia, you're into the dark romance, the smut book, this book I would definitely give it a 5 star. It is such a solid read. It's definitely one of those that I would read again. So 5 stars, read the book and let me know what you think about it in the comments. Dark romance. The woman's husband goes missing, okay? Ruthless creatures. The woman's husband goes missing right before their wedding day. So when they're supposed to get married, he just poof disappears and she's like, what the fuck? Years goes by. She doesn't date, she doesn't do anything. All of a sudden, this guy like kind of shows up into the picture because what she didn't know is he was there to kill her. Because her husband, that she didn't even know, was involved in the mafia. Okay, this is a dark romance, but it's also like has to do with the mafia, okay, which are like some of my favorites. So she ends up falling in love with the guy who came to kill her, and he falls in love with her. She figures out that her husband, or soon-to-be husband, was in fact alive this whole time, but he was hiding out because he was like their accountant and freaking stole so much money from them. This book, I would definitely give it probably 5 stars. As the series went on, I did like the books in it. The last book I was kind of bored with in the series, but this one is a must-read for sure. Okay, this book here, Venomous Kiss. Okay, this is a woman. Okay, so she was married, and then her husband was like clearly bored. Like she called him like a beige relationship, right? And she wanted more from that because hello, kinky side. And she was obsessed with people with a knife. So then she meets this guy here in a bar. She finds out that her husband's cheating, sees him in their pool or whatever, finds out that he's cheating, gets this guy. She's like, hey, basically, I want to F you. So she takes him to their marital home, does it right in front of her husband, doesn't care, divorces her husband, gets with this one. And her husband, like, always thought it was weird that she had, like, this fantasy about thinking about, you know, people. But then she finds out this guy, he's in a secret, like, club where they do a hunt, okay? And the hunt is literally for humans. It's not for animals, it's for humans. So when she finds that out, then she's even more, like, into him. This book, it was so good. If you guys want to know the ending and what happens, because she's a stalker, and then she doesn't realize that he's a stalker too, so they're stalking each other. And so they have this thing called the hunt, but then she ends up in the hunt. It's super crazy. It's a solid read. Definitely. I would give this one, I don't know, I'd probably give this one like 4 stars, I would think. I feel like there could have been more hunting going on. Obviously, professional reader here. Hello. So I read A Love Letter to Whiskey. Okay, this is a romance that I don't even know like where to start on this one either. Like, okay, so there's 2 best friends. And they've been best friends since like primary school, right? And so they meet this guy and he starts dating the best friend. Well, she's like doing cheer and like the whole thing, right? And he played basketball, you know what I mean? Like they were just a thing. Well, him and the best friend hang out all the time because she's always busy with cheer. Well, what the best friend didn't know is that he was in love with her, just like she was in love with him. So they end up breaking up, right? He goes off to college. He's a year older than them. He goes off to college. They break it off. One of the girls goes to New York, and then the best friend goes to California where he is. But she didn't know that they were at the same college, right? So the 2 were in love with each other. But they never dated or talked about this shit. So then they go off to college. Well, while they're in college, she has a boyfriend. And the boyfriend is literally his roommate, okay? It's Jamie's roommate. So, of course, timing isn't there, you know. So then they were just, so she breaks up with the boyfriend, and then she was supposed to start basically dating him. However, plot twist, she was going to come out with everything, tell the boyfriend that they, you know, basically slept around together finally. And what happened was she gets a phone call. Her dad passed away. So she moves back home, finishes college out there, okay? He finishes college in California. On her graduation day, they're at a bar. He comes back home because he wanted to do, like he wanted to work at his dad's firm. It was like an accounting firm. So then he goes to the bar because he's celebrating that he, I think, made partner. I'm pretty sure he had like made partner or whatever. And he had passed like, I think the CPA or something, right? So he goes to the same bar, sees her there. And then he was like, I'm not letting you go, because she cut him off for 3 years. Ghosted, didn't talk to him in the 3 years that she moved back, right? So he's like, I'm not letting you leave again. And she's like, well, actually, I'm leaving like tomorrow or the next day, because she literally was going to another state to finish her master's. And she was interning because she was becoming a writer or whatever, you know, doing that sort of thing. So then he was like, can we do a long distance relationship? And she was like, no, I want to focus on my work. I want to, in the internship, like she wanted to be able to get like a job, you know what I mean? After it was done and over with. So then she finds out later on, guess what? I'm going to ruin the book for you guys. So if you don't want me to ruin it at this point, then stop watching the video because I'm going to ruin it for you guys. Okay, so then he is getting married. And she's like, whoa, what the hell? And he wanted her to be his best man, but obviously female. So then she goes to the wedding, right? Goes to the wedding. But then on the day before the wedding, they were doing like the bachelor thing. So they did like a camping trip, right? So they do a camping trip, don't do anything. But on their wedding day, he finds out that his soon-to-be wife cheated on him because she was jealous of the girl. So she cheats on him. He's like, nope, we ain't getting married, okay? So then they think like time is on their hands. And then he tells her, he was like, just wait for me because I got to figure out this huge mess, right? So he's like, wait for me. So 2 years goes by. She don't hear anything from him. She's like, nay, nay. So now she's getting married. Okay, so now she's getting married and he explains to her, he's like, listen, the reason that you didn't hear from me for 2 years, first you promised me that you would wait for me, but you didn't wait for me, okay? He's like, I literally couldn't wait for you. I mean, I couldn't talk to you and you didn't hear from me because what she did was she sent in the paperwork for the marriage, okay, that next Monday. And he didn't know about it. So they were legally married. And she was like, you can either work it out or I'm taking everything, including your dad's firm, because your name is on it because you made partner. And he's like, what the fuck? And so he had to deal with all the lawyers, couldn't have any contact whatsoever because he didn't want to lose everything, right? So then the day that he gets his divorce papers in, okay, the day he gets his divorce papers in is the day he gets the invitation for her to get married. So he goes, shows up, gets us on a flight, shows up at her door, and he's like, what the fuck? Like, why are you over here? Like, what are you doing? You're not getting married. It's not happening. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm getting married, blah, 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 blah. So then she gets married, right? She gets married. And he was like, what the fuck ever? I'm walking the fuck away. That's it. So then some time passes, and he's walking, right? And he sees in a bookstore that there's a book that's literally titled A Love Letter to Whiskey, okay? Literally titled that. And he realizes it's for him because, see, she called him whiskey, if you didn't know. She called him whiskey. Nay, it wasn't about alcoholics. She called him whiskey because of his eyes, and it reminded her of that because she was so addicted to him. You see what I'm saying? So then he reads this book, and he's like, what the fuck? Why am I so dumb? So then he goes back to find her, and he's like, hey, I read your book and what the fuck? And she was like, well, basically, whenever you showed up here, this last time before that, she's like, I was back in my apartment because she divorced homeboy after I think like 4 or 5 months. So then they were like, So then they were talking about the book, and then clearly you can see the ending for that. Okay, bye. Everybody rants and raves about The Housemaid. Me? I didn't really care for it. I thought it was very mundane. It wasn't my style. And all in all, like, it's basically about obviously somebody who gets a job being a housemaid, and the wife who hires her basically sets it up to where she falls in love with her husband because she gets locked in this fucking room, okay? And basically tortured in this room. That's what happens in this book. And then I'll tell you what happens. I'll ruin it for you for those of you that don't want to read it or don't want to watch the movie that just came out. They escape, and the hubby, you know, you can guess what happens, right? The thing that had irritated me is I also read the second book, which I'm probably not going to do a review on that. The second book is she's just helping other women basically get out of their situation with their abusive husbands now. And I also went and I watched the movie in theaters, and it was a very slow movie. It was a slow movie, and the ending wasn't the same. The shit that had happened to the husband in the room when he was locked in there. So me personally, I wouldn't recommend this one. I would give it maybe like 1.5 stars. It just wasn't my cup of tea. This fucked up book, Sick Boys, there's 2 sisters. One of the sisters goes to this college, and she herself, okay? And so her other sister goes to the college to try to figure out what the hell happened and like what caused her to do that, right? So then there's these boys that are there, and they're all part of pretty much like the mafia, right? And so the houses that are at the college are like different mafia families. And so she's trying to figure out what happened to her sister, like who caused her like to do that. So when before her sister had passed away, her sister had wrote a journal and put the journal under the girl's door, her sister's door. So her sister like has all these clues and she's trying to figure it out, like what happened. Well, she never had like her last name. Like her last name was not her real last name. So the boys didn't know that her family was part of a different mafia. So the boys, she becomes obsessed with them. They're obsessed with her. So it's kind of like, you know, basically a threesome all the time. There's like 3 guys and her. So a foursome, I guess. I don't know. So anyways, so then she finds out that they're like kind of part of it, I guess. Or so she thinks. And then there's a huge twist because it becomes one of the guys' dads that was actually the cause of it. This is like a twisted, dark romance where they literally don't give a shit about people to figure out the truth, and whoever the hell like betrayed her sister, that's who they're going after. So if you need a good read, definitely read this one. I would give this one probably 4 stars, I would say. This one, I wasn't ready for. I don't think that you're even ready for it. If You Tell was so up. It's based on a true story, okay? The mom is a complete psychopath, and she literally tortures her kids. She offs 2 or 3 people in the book, gets her husband in on it. She's so fucked up that she makes these people literally take like showers outside with the hose, but like use bleach. She makes them, I mean, listen, in this book, it's all about, there's torturing, child neglect, child abuse. She has something actually wrong with her. And for her to like she tried to get away with all these, you know, the schmurders. She tried to get away with all of them. Went as far as having her husband burn bodies, okay, take the ashes over into the ocean, all this other nonsense, literally like basically has her kids scared so much that they don't want to tell anybody. And then what happens is, as they got older, clearly they had told on them, okay? At first, like, the police didn't, like, really believe them or investigate, and then, like, it came out. This was a hard read, okay? Warning, I should have started off with that to begin with, but this was definitely a hard fucking read, I'm not gonna lie. And what's so crazy about this is the mom, her name is Michelle, she got sentenced to 22 years. 22 years, but guess what? She only served 18 and she got out November 8th, 2022. And then the husband, David, he was sentenced to 15 years. He only had to do 13 and he was released in 2016. This is what I want to know. How do you 3 people, okay? And you're not in fucking prison for life. What do you mean? Like this book for me was, I don't think that there's any coming back from it. It was a very hard read. It took me, I think, 2 days to read it. But just the abuse and the shit, like the crazy shit that went on, like the bleach baths were so bad that literally, okay, 2 of them literally like withered away. Like when I tell you, like they had to sleep, like not in the house, they had to sleep outside, they had to be naked, cleaning, like all this weird shit going on, like the torture to me was like something that you can't really fathom, but yet it's a true story and it's real life. And you mean to tell me that they're not in prison for life? I don't know. This one, I would give this one definitely 5 stars. But just be prepared because it's like really hard to stomach and to deal with. I will be thinking about this book probably for the rest of my life, no doubt. Okay, here with the update. I finished the book, Rings of Fate. Loved it. I'm not much on like the fantasy type of book, but I stuck with it. I read it. It was a 5-star from me. So to give you guys the rundown, it's a lord that's on a quest to like find his queen, right? Or like a prince. He's on his quest to find his princess to be a queen. But what they don't know is he has a dark secret. So there's these rings. There's these rings, but they're stuck in his back, right? And these rings give him this power that he can't control. And it's like all this wind and tornadoes that all come around. So anyways, he finds the barmaid, right? They end up falling in love. Go figure. But what they didn't know is that she is what helps him control the rings. So anyways, so they venture through all these towns and they're kind of like parading around, like, oh, they're getting married, but they have, like, they made an agreement, right? So they made an agreement that they would pretend, because he would pay her like a shit ton of money. And then he's trying to figure out how to get these rings out of his back because, hello, he thinks like, well, he stole them when he was 10, okay? And so he thinks he's cursed. He can't get them out of his back. They're literally stuck to his whole being, his whole soul. So they go through this whole adventure trying to get them out of his back, so on and so forth. Read the book so I don't ruin it all for you because I will. But this one definitely 10 out of 10 for me. Okay, this book over here, The Risk, I just started this one. And so this is what happened. So there's this girl that's in the book, the character, and she is basically out for revenge, okay? There's guys that have done some bad things to her 10 years prior, and she's out for revenge. So she has like scars all over her body. She doesn't look the same. She's had all kinds of surgeries done, if you can only imagine like what they've done to her. So she's out for revenge, and in the first book, because this is a series, I forget how many books it is, but I think it's like 6 or 7 books. It's a shorter read. This one was only like 132 pages. But so she's out and she's just not creating, but she's going out and just the people. I mean, she's taken she has like so many black belts, I guess, and like has done all the classes. So she's like a really good fighter and all that shit. But she's like torturing them. Okay, she tortures them for at least 2 or 3 days, and then she takes the BLOOD and puts it all over the walls and shit. Like, she doesn't care, right? And it's well planned, whatever. Anyways, then she meets this guy. So they hit it off. And by the way, she changed her identity, but she meets this guy. Of course, he's in the FBI and he has no idea. And he keeps on saying like how perfect she is and like there has to be something wrong with her. Little does he know that she's a serial murderer. And then the way that this book ends is somebody that he works with in the FBI is knocking on her door. And she was like, how come you are using the name of basically a dead person? And it ends like that. And then you go into book 2. This book, I would definitely give it 5 stars. Current me here, I just started Sidetracked, which is the second book in the Mindfuck series. And Lena goes, because remember I told you in the first book, it ended with the FBI agent saying like, basically, why did you steal a dead girl's identity? I swear to God, chapter 1, she goes, to be fair, they probably would never have condoned me stealing another girl's identity, taking her inheritance, and using it to get some very disturbing revenge on all the men who scarred me for life. Like, she just doesn't give a fuck. And by the way, she was talking about her parents, because her parents actually died in a car accident. And then her brother, also when she was like being tortured and all this shit had happened to her brother was there too, and he actually got... And they thought that she was gone too, but turns out she isn't gone. And so anyways, I'm clearly starting the second book on this, but I just had to share this with you guys in present form before I give my actual review because I just thought that was funny as fuck. On to book 2 of the Mindfuck series, which is Sidetracked. And at this point, we know that Hadley, the FBI agent, is trying to figure out everything about Lana. Because shit just isn't adding up. Like, why is she going to change her identity? Well, in the meantime, the FBI is on a case for the boogeyman who just keeps people. And they finally, like, kind of catch a break and figure out who it is. And before they can make it to the destination, they figure out that there's a corrupt FBI agent because the boogeyman has his daughter. So he let them know that they were coming to get him. So in the meantime, they figure this out, and then they're like, well, what the fuck? Why did you not just come to us? Blah, 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 blah. And the guy was like, well, my daughter. And they're like, well, okay, your daughter's probably now. So then, Lana is now like coming home, I guess. Like she's on her way home. But also the boogeyman has now made it personal. So he's kind of after Lana because he's made it personal to her now boyfriend, the FBI agent. And so she comes home and all of a sudden she's struck by something. Hello, lights out. And then we're going into book 3. Are you afraid of the boogeyman? That's exactly what book 3 is about. So it's in the Mindfuck series, and this is a Scarlet Angel. So in book 2, Lana had just got home and was struck, right? So then Lana is like, she's kind of laughing a little bit to herself because don't forget, she's taken like all the self-defense classes. So she starts laughing after she lets like him rough her up a little bit, and he was pretty much like, what's so funny? And so she's like, and basically, just beats the shit out of him. And then she ends up getting his knife, and I guess he was like coming after her or whatever. And so she had turned around and made it to be where like he kind of ran into it, so it was like an accident kind of thing, but she knew what she was doing. Well, during all of this, she starts telling the boogeyman about all of her secrets, basically, okay? So she's telling him like everything that's been going on and how basically she's, a murderer. And little does she know that Hadley, the FBI agent, is in the closet watching all of this because she doesn't know that she's in the closet. Because Hadley had went to her house first to confront her about shit that she had found out about her, right? So Hadley had got taped up, and she had duct tape like on her mouth, and she was bound to her wrist and her ankles as well. And so she was in the closet watching it all. So she now knows like the cat's out of the bag. She knows everything. Well, Lana had found out about Hadley's past before this, okay? And so she found out that her stepdad, did certain things to children, right? And her being one of them. So Lana goes, hunts him down, and just tortures him a little bit, but gone. And then she takes, because he had pictures of all of his victims, and so she took the one of Hadley, so nobody could see it or whatever. Well, anyways, later on in the book, Hadley finds out about this. And so they kind of become like this. Lana spills the beans to Hadley, tells her everything and her plans of Delaney Grove and what the hell is going on. So they're kind of working together. Meanwhile, FBI boyfriend still has no idea what's going on. So then we're going to be going on to the next book. Okay, here we go. Last book of the series. God, I wish that it wasn't over. When I tell you guys, this is one of my favorite series of dark romance to fucking read. So what happens is, okay, so she leaves and she's like, see you later. Okay, she meets back up with her best friend, and they continue with their plan to basically destroy all of Delaney Grove. And that's exactly what they do. They have it so thought out, so planned out, okay? They go after everybody in there that wronged them. I'm talking, they have their whole TV system set up. They play everything, dude. They play her mom. They play the court hearing for her dad. Dude, I thought that her mom and her dad were in a car accident. Wrong! Her dad was framed for the murders of these other people that he didn't even do. And what they did was they made him swallow nails, okay? He swallowed nails. The jailed mother effers made him swallow nails, and that's why she would always keep nails and put them in an apple. Anyways, it all came together. I was so mad I didn't catch on to it sooner. But anyways, so needless to say, they literally blow up the whole town. Don't give a shit about it. And then they think that she fucking dies. Because she gets in the room, right, and she's like, pow, 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 doing all the things, and there's like so many men that are after her, okay? I think it was in the church or some shit. Anyways, the whole town is on fire, and then they think that she dies. Well, guess what? She didn't, because best friend cut off all the cameras so the FBI agents couldn't fucking see it, because then he realized that he fucked up, and he's like, you know what? I am in love with her, blah, 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 blah. And so, anyways, he saves her, they leave. Okay, they go to fucking Greece. Everybody is taken care of, whatever. And then the FBI agent is like, God, I fucked up. And then Hattie's like, shit, I'm in love with said best friend. So then FBI dude literally off somebody, okay? Off somebody, which was best friend's dad, because he was the one who did all of it. He betrayed his best friend, her dad. When I tell you the twists and the turns of this series, anyways, you guys need to read it. This is like a 10 out of 10 for me, the whole series.